Hi, I'm Jeannie Coverdale. Thanks for joining our YouTube Schoolhouse. I'm going to show you today a project you can still make in time for Christmas giving. It's a great project for children. It's a chalk cloth placemat, and it takes very few supplies and very little time. You could do this project in less than an hour, and I'll show you at the end of our tutorial where you can get kits that will make a pair of chalk cloth placemats. These are great to put at the table. They make a little bigger than the traditional size placemat, around 16 by 20 inches. You do borders and binding, and you need batting and backing. I'll show you now the supplies exactly that you'll need. First of all, the pattern's very simple, and you can download this from our website. The other supplies you'll need, which we'll also have kits available for, will be 1 fat quarter for your backing, an 18 by 22 inch piece of low loft batting, and I've used Warm and Natural, 1 piece of chalk cloth. It looks like this, and we've squared it up to 11.5 by 15.5. Back to the batting. If you'd like to use up scrap, this is a great way to do it. What you do is cut your batting clear and straight with your rotary cutter, and then butt the edges together and use a zigzag stitch to join the edges, and it's a super way to use up batting scraps. Okay, backing, batting, chalk cloth. 1 fat quarter will do the binding, and you need 6 coordinating strips cut by width of fabric. And you can cut strips at random sizes because you want this to be a scrappy project, from 1.5 to 3.5 inches wide with the fabric strips, and I have 6 in my project. So after you have your strips cut, the first thing you'll do is join them in pairs of 2. Here's a 2 and a 2 and a 2. This whole project is done with 1/4 inch seams using your 1/4 inch foot. Make sure that you don't join like fabrics. Once you've got them joined, your piece will look like this. Mine finished to 12.5 inches. Yours will vary a little depending upon the size of your strips. After you join into a section, you're going to cut crosswise into 3-inch wide strips. So I have cut crosswise into 3-inch wide strips, and I have joined 2 sections together, so I have a piece of border that's wide enough to span the upper edge of my placemat. Moving on to that, you lay it right sides of the border strip to the edge of the chalk cloth, stitch it together with a 1/4 inch seam, lay it down and press it, folding the border toward the outside edge, remembering that you cannot touch an iron to your chalk cloth. So the way you have to press this is to come at it with the iron and stop just over the stitching line. You can't touch an iron to the chalk cloth, you'll get melt marks. Don't want that for a gift. So after you've joined the top to the chalk cloth, you cut the fabric even with the edges of your chalk cloth. Proceed and do your bottom border, fold it to the outside edge and press. Don't touch the iron to the chalk cloth. Trim even with the edges of the placemat, and then do the same for the left and the right sides of your placemat. Well, for you, I guess that's right and left sides of your placemat. And you're going to finish with all the way around. You'll have this strippy border. And this is what your project begins to look like. Okay, this is finished, but this is how your borders will look. After you have all of the borders on, you lay out your fat quarter backing. Here's mine. Now you want to smooth this all out so it's not got any lumps in it. Then you lay out your fat quarter size piece of low loft batting. You lay out your placemat that has your borders on it, and pin based, and you can use either straight pins or safety pins, but the thing to remember is do not pin through the chalk cloth. And what you want is just to have the whole thing laid out flat. And the only row of quilting stitching that I put in my finished project was around the edge of the chalk cloth through all the layers. And that gave me a frame around the edge. If you want to add more quilting, you surely can, but this will hold it just fine. Then what you want to do is now trim your placemat down to 16 by 20. And the way you do that is to go to your cutting mat, take a 24-inch ruler, lay your ruler down, and measure by the stitching line on between the chalk cloth and the border. Lay your ruler down, should be 2 3/4 inches from this stitching line to the outside edge where you cut. Cut it all the way around so you've got a squared up 16 by 20 placemat, and then you do the binding. We have on our website, excuse me, a binding technique. It can be found on the home page. It's called Pressed Perfect Binding. And if you go to the home page, the upper right corner, there's an icon that'll take you right to that binding step. It's a foolproof way of binding any kind of quilts. It's a single fold binding. It'll give you perfect mitered corners. I stitched my binding onto the placemat, and rather than finishing it by hand, I used a decorative machine stitch to do the final step of the binding. It makes it more durable. So what I have is a great little placemat. If kids are sitting at the table with adults, this will keep them busy. And it's a fun little grandchild or child project you can still complete in time for Christmas. You can purchase the supplies on our website. Chalk cloth is $2.95. This is enough to do one placemat. I've also got kits, and I have 2 different ones. They're $21, and they can be found on the kits page. We've either got a kit that will do just like our sample with strips you can cut, 2 pieces of chalk cloth, 2 backings, and enough binding to do 2 placemats, and that's $21. Or if you really want to put the turbo on for this project, our other kit is a piece of fabric that's already got a built-in stripe, so there's no border piecing. And you just would cut this with the fabric, cut it into 3-inch strips, add the strips to the edges of your chalk cloth, and finish the rest of the steps as I've outlined them. Both of the kits can be found at our kits page at blockpartystudios.com. They both make 2 placemats each, and you can also buy just the chalk cloth for $2.95. This does 1. Or you can have the pattern for free, and it's downloaded at our website. Thanks for coming to our YouTube classroom. Have a great day.